So welcome to Buddha Bits class number 2, I guess. So Buddha Bits is basically just little snippets of the graduated path to enlightenment and trying to put them in really nice, simplistic terms. Often, if we look at the whole of the graduated path, I wouldn't say I would call it catechism, but it certainly is very expansive. And of course, it's good. It's good to study. It's good to be familiar. But if we, for example, took the Precious Human Rebirth, there's an interesting emotion that comes up if you just sort of study it well, in a very simple way. There's the 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments. And you sort of say, well, gee, you're free of those. You're so lucky, better take advantage of it. And so the effect that could be is that if you wake up in the morning and you say, have I taken advantage of my Precious Human Rebirth? It's almost a guilt trip. Yeah, like you think, oh, I'm a bad person. I haven't taken advantage of my Precious Human Rebirth, which for some people maybe is really good. Some people do need to be kicked into the butt, to sort of move them forward. But if you think about the Precious Human Rebirth, what it is, it's like recognizing you have an incredible opportunity. It's just like a magnificent opportunity to do something with yourself. So the example that I like to give is like if you won a lottery ticket. Now this actually comes from Paru Rinpoche, the previous abbot of the Gyuto Tantric College. And in one class he gave in Canada, where I was actually the translator, he said, your imagination can be very useful for you because your imagination can generate certain thoughts and feelings that are then you can bring into your Dharma practice. So the example would be this, and he talked about this, where he says, if you won a lottery ticket, like you have the lottery ticket in your hand, you would be just so thrilled. You'd say, wow, like I got it, Yes, but part of that is because there's what you can do. You can pay off your mortgage, you can pay off your car debts, you can pay off your credit cards, that'd be one thing. Oh, or then, like you can give money to your family, can do all sorts of things, give money to the Dharma Center, yes, that'd be so good, So just having the ticket in your hands, you haven't even got the money yet, but all those things are possible and you feel excited about the future. So the Precious Human Rebirth is that. Although it is, it's presented in the sense of wake up and, you have these freedoms, you've got a good rebirth. Even if you have some health problems or if you have some disability or something, still like you have an incredible opportunity. You met the Buddha Dharma, you met the lineage is still alive. There's teachings and there's people that can help you. Then there's the freedom from being born in bad places. And even if you are in a slightly bad place, still you've met the Dharma. Wow, you have opportunity. So it's sort of like that presentation is good because they say, hey, wake up. But then there's the again, how rare it is. It's like, if you had a pile of sand that's been slowly sort of piled down, then you're right at the very top, and then even more so if you've gotten a tantric initiation. Even fewer people have that. So unbelievable, like you're so lucky. Have you taken advantage of it? See what I mean? It's sort of like guilt trip. So I would really recommend with the Precious Human Rebirth is you get a piece of paper and write, I won a Precious Human Rebirth and such. Now, I have a student that's in Mexico here. He was at 18 years old, had juvenile onset arthritis. So that means by the time he was 20, one of his arms had withered. He couldn't move it. And by the time he was 21, worse. And he was so angry. He was a musician, so suddenly he couldn't play guitar anymore. He sort of was crippled now. So, his options for having relationships were really limited. Just so many pretty hard things. And so he was angry. So when he was about 22, he came to the Dharma class that I was teaching. And, so at that point, I was actually talking about the Precious Human Rebirth. And I used the same example. This is like 20 years ago now. I gave everybody a little piece of paper saying you won. Okay. And I explained it, like I said, in the very constructive, get excited terms. Anyway, so he went home and he glued it to the ceiling above his bed. So when he'd wake up in the morning, he'd look at it and say, hey, I got a good rebirth. You know, even though he's crippled with arthritis and such, he that. And what was happening is he changed his attitude. In the future classes that he came to, he was no longer angry. He started to feel good about himself and he started to have good energy. It wasn't poor me. It was, hey, I've got opportunity. Even though I'm slightly crippled, I've still got opportunity. And then after a few years, actually, in the FPMT, they had the relic tour, which is just beautiful. All these incredible relics were brought, and they were brought to that city where he lived. And then he became a volunteer because he was involved in Buddhism. Now he actually became a Buddhist. And then at that, then one day a lady showed up and he helped her and they sort of connected. And well, just again, he had a positive attitude. He wasn't poor me. And so they ended up getting married and they've had 3 children, you know, lived happily ever after. Point being is, and actually one thing more on that is, I never heard him complain of the pain he had. Like I would come and pick him up sometimes and I had a car that was quite low. And so he'd have to sort of, he'd get in his wheelchair, shuffle over, and then he'd have to slide up his wheelchair into the seat. And it, you know, I mean, you see him grimace a little bit, but he would never say, oh, poor me, you know, never. I mean, that impressed me so much that even when I have pain, don't say anything because I think of him. His name is Cesar, this incredible guy. So anyway, all of that from just a little thing saying, I want a precious human rebirth. I have potential. So that's my thought for you today. So when you wake up in the morning, whether you do stick a little lottery ticket over the top of your bed or whatever you want to do, but you won and you have opportunity. You have incredible opportunity. And for those of you, you know, in this particular time frame, we're only 2 or 3 generations or 2 or 3 decades away from when the Buddha Dharma from Tibet came out. So we still have very, very alive lineage. You know, it's not been diluted and, you know, such like that. There's still very powerful transmission of the teachings and such, and may that continue in the future. But certainly we can say that the original message that was transmitted by, you know, the Buddha Dharma into Tibet was sort of in a deep freezer in Tibet for, you know, 1,000+ years. And then finally now it's come out, you know, the Dalai Lama and the Karmapa and the Sakya-trees and all these great lamas. And then Gyaltsen Rinpoche, I mean, unbelievably holy men. So we're really lucky. Anyway, so we lucked out. We won the Perfect Human Rebirth. Please take advantage of it. So big hugs to you all. And that's Buddha bit number, I guess, 2.